Hello, this is Nolan Hewitt. I'm going to read you a creepypasta. For you that don't know creepypasta, it's basically a scary story told on the internet. Some that are real, some that are not. This one, I'll be reading Sonic.exe, a creepypasta about a strange Sonic game CD that could be either glitchy, hacked, or possibly made by someone or something other than Sega. Here we go. I'm a total Sonic the Hedgehog fan, much like everyone else. I like the newer games, but I don't mind playing the classics. I don't think I've ever played a glitchy or hacked games before, though I don't think I want to play any after the experience I had. I started on a nice summer afternoon. I was playing Sonic Unleashed. I liked how you get to explore the town in it, until I noticed out of the peripheral vision that the mailman had arrived and put something in my mailbox, as usual, and left. I paused the game to go see what I got in the mail. The only thing in the mailbox was a CD case for computers and a note. I took it inside. I looked at the note first and realized it was from my dear friend Kyle. Let's just call him that, whom I haven't heard from in 2 weeks. I know that because I recognized his handwriting, though what was weird is how it looked. It looked badly written and scratchy and somewhat difficult to read, as if Kyle was having a hard time writing it down, and did it in a hurry. This is what he wrote. Tom, I can't take it anymore. I had to get rid of this thing somehow, before it was too late, and I was hoping you'd do it for me. I can't do it. He's after me. And if you don't destroy the CD, he'll come after you, too. He's too fast for me. Please, Tom, destroy this godforsaken disc before he comes after you, too. It's too late for me. Destroy the disc, and you'll destroy him. But do it. Do it. Do it quickly, otherwise he'll catch you. Don't even play the game. It's what he wants. Just destroy it. Please. Kyle. Well, that was certainly weird. Even though Kyle is my best friend and I haven't seen him in 2 weeks, I didn't do what he asked. I didn't think that a simple gaming disc would do anything bad to him. After all, it's just a game, right? Boy, was I wrong about that. Anyway, I looked at this disc and it was like any ordinary computer CDR disc, except it had a black marker on it and written Sonic.exe, and it was much unlike Kyle's handwriting, meaning he must have gotten it from someone else, like at a pawn shop or eBay. When I saw Sonic on the writing of the CD, I was usually excited and wanted to play it, since I'm a big Sonic fan. I went to my room and turned on my computer and put the disc in and installed the game. When the title screen popped up, I noticed it was the first Sonic game. I was like, awesome! Because I liked it. Like I said earlier, I like the classics. The first thing I noticed that was out of place was when I pressed start, there was a split second when I saw the title image turn into something more different, something that I now consider horrifying, before cutting it to black. I remember what the image looked like in the split second before the game cut to black. The sky was darkened. The title album was rusted and ruined. The Sega 1999 was now instead Sega 666. And the water had turned red, like blood, except it looked hyper-realistic. But the freakiest thing that was in that split second frame was Sonic. His eyes were pitch black and bleeding, with two glowing red dots staring right at me, and his smile had stretched wider to the edge of his face. I was rather disturbed about the image I saw when I saw it, though I figured that it was just a glitch and forgot about it. After it cut to black, It stayed like that for about 10 seconds or so, and then another weird thing happened. The save file select from Sonic the Hedgehog 3 popped up. And I was like, what the fuck? What's this doing on the first Sonic game? Anyway, then I noticed something off the background was a dark, cloudy sky of the bad Stardust Speedway level from Sonic CD. And there were only 3 save files. The music was that creepy Caverns of Winter's music from Earthbound. Only it was extended and seemed to have been in reverse. And the same image for the save file where you see the preview of this level you're on is just red static for all 3 files. What freaked me out was the character select. It showed only Tails, Knuckles, and Dr. Robotnik. Now I was sure something was up. I mean, how can you play as Dr. Robotnik in a classic Sonic game, for crying out loud? That's when I realized that this wasn't a glitchy game. It was a hacked game. Yeah, it definitely looked hacked. It was really creepy. But as a smart gamer, I wasn't scared. Or at least I tried not to be. I told myself that was just a hacked game, and there's nothing wrong with that. Anyways, shaking off this creeped out feeling, I picked file 1, and I chose Tails. When I selected and started, the game froze for about 5 seconds, and I heard a creepy pixelated laugh. It sounded an awful lot like that Kefka guy from Final Fantasy before it cut into black. The screen stayed black for about 10 seconds or more. Then it showed the typical level title thing, except the simplistic shapes were different shades of red, and the text showed only Hill, Act 1. The screen faded in the level, and the title vanished, revealing Tails in the Green Hill Zone from Sonic 1. Music was different, though. It sounded like a peaceful melody in reverse. Anyway, I started playing and had Tails started running like you would in any of the Sonic games. That was odd. What was odd was that as Tails was running along the level, there was nothing but flat ground and a few trees for 5 minutes. That was when the peaceful music started to lower down into slow, deep tones, very slowly as I kept going. I suddenly saw something, and I stopped to see what it was. It was one of the small animals lying dead on the ground, bleeding. That was when the music started to slow down. Tails had a shocked and saddened look on his face that I never saw him have before. So I had him move along, and he kept that worried look on his face. As he kept moving, I saw more dead animals as Tails moved past them, looking more and more worried as the music lowers and he moves past the dead animals. I was shocked to see that they all died. They all looked like somebody killed them in rather gruesome ways. A squirrel was hanged on a tree with what appeared to be his entrails hanging out. A bunny had all 4 of his limbs torn off, and a duck had his eyes gouged out and his throat slit. I felt so sick to my stomach when I saw this massacre, and apparently so did Tails. After a few more seconds, there were no more animals, and the music seemed to have stopped. I still kept Tails to continue. After a minute passed, after the music stopped, Tails was running up a hill. Then he stopped. It was until I saw why. Sonic was there on the other side of the screen, with his back against Tails and his eyes closed. Tails looked happy to see Sonic, but when his smile faltered, obviously noticing that Sonic responding to him. not acting as if he was totally oblivious of Tails' presence. Tails walked slowly towards Sonic, and I noticed that I wasn't even moving my keyboard to make the moves. So this had to be a cutscene. Suddenly, I began to have a growing feel of dread as Tails walked closer to Sonic to get his attention. I felt that Tails was in danger, and something bad was going to happen. I heard a faint static growing louder as Tails was but inches away from Sonic and stuck his hand out to touch him. That foreboding feeling in my gut was growing stronger, and I felt the urge to tell Tails to get away from Sonic as the static grew louder. Suddenly, in a split second, I saw Sonic's eyes open as and they were black with those red glowing dots, just like that title image. Thought there wasn't a smile when that happened. The screen turned to black and the static sound was off. It stayed black for 7 seconds, and then a text appeared and a message saying, "Hello, do you want to play with me?" At this point, I was creeped out. I didn't want to continue with this game, but my curiosity got the better of me. When I was taken to a different level, and the level title now saying Hide and Seek. This time I was in the Angel Island level from Sonic 3, and it looked like everything was on fire. Tails looked as though he was scared out of his wits this time. He actually looked at me and made frantic gestures to me as if he wanted to get out of the area, in as fast as possible. I was starting to get freaked out by this. I mean, Tails was actually breaking the fourth wall, trying to tell me to get him out of there. So I pressed down the arrow key as hard as I could and made him run as fast as he could. A pixelated version of that creepy theme when you meet Shadow in the Ark as Robotnik from Sonic Adventure 2 was playing as I made Tails track through the desolate forest, trying to help him escape from whatever he was trying to run from. Suddenly, I heard that creepy laugh again, that awful Kefka laugh. Right after 10 seconds had been pressed as I helped Tails run through the forest, and then I started seeing flashes of Sonic popping everywhere on the screen again, with those black and red eyes. The music changed to that suspenseful drowning jingle as I see Sonic behind Tails, slowly gaining up on him, flying. Sonic wasn't running, he was actually flying. That flying pose his sprite was making looked very similar to Metal Sonic flying pose in Sonic CD, except it was just Sonic, and he had the black and red eyes again. Only this time, he had the most deranged look on his face. He looked as though he was enjoying the torment he was giving the poor little fox as he gained up on him. Suddenly, when Tails tripped, another cutscene. The music stopped and Sonic vanished. Tails laid there and started crying for 15 seconds. The scene was rather upsetting to watch, and I kind of teared up myself. But then Sonic appeared right in front of Tails, and Tails looked up in horror. Blood started to come down those blackened eyes of Sonic's as a grin slowly grew from his face as he looked down at the horrified fox. I could do nothing but watch. There was a split second. Sonic lunged at Tails. Right before the screen blacked, there was a loud screeching noise that was only lasted 5 seconds. The text returned, only this time it said, "You're too slow. Want to try again?" Then that god-awful laugh came with it. I was so shocked by what happened. Did Sonic murder Tails? No, he couldn't have. He and Tails are supposed to be the best friends, right? Why did Sonic do that to him? I shook the shock off as I was brought back to the character select. The save file that had Tails was different. Tails was no longer in the box itself, but in the TV screen itself, which was flickering with a red static. Tails' expression scared me. His eyes were black and bleeding. His orange fur had gone black and had an expression of anguish on his face. Trying to ignore it, I picked Knuckles next. The laugh came again, and the screen cut to black again, and stayed there for another 10 seconds. This time, the level said, "You can't run." I was really freaked out by now. I couldn't really tell if this was a glitch or a hack, or some kind of sick, twisted joke, or anything really. But despite my fear of what happened next, I kept playing. The next level looked much different. It was the ground of the scrap brain zone, but the sky background looked like the main menu. It had the dark reddish cloud sky, but it was the music that creeped me out the most. It sounded like Gygas from Gygas theme right out after you beat Pokey in Earthbound. I also noticed that Knuckles looked afraid, just like Tails did. Though not as much, more rather, he looked a little unnerved. He broke the fourth wall just like Tails and looked as if he wasn't sure about going on, but I made him move anyway. He ran down straight pathway dark level. As he did, the screen started to flicker red static a couple of times. Then that maddening laugh came again. Then after a few seconds of running, I noticed several blood stains on the metallic ground. I felt a growing sense of fear again, thinking something horrible is going to happen to Knuckles. He looked nauseating walking down this blood-stained road, but I still kept him going. Suddenly, Knuckles ran. Sonic appeared right in front of him, with those black and red eyes. And then red static appeared again. The red static vanished, showing but black screen with a text saying, "Found you." I was now scared. Sonic found Knuckles already. What's going on? Anyway, red static came again, and then was back to the level. Knuckles looked like he was panicking, and Sonic was nowhere to be found. And this time, that high-pitched squealing from the Silent Hill 1's final boss was playing. Was this one kind of a boss battle with Sonic? I hope to God it wasn't, honestly. Suddenly, Sonic appeared right behind Knuckles in what appeared to be pixelated black smoke. I made Knuckles turn and then punch Sonic, but Sonic vanished in black pixelated smoke before I could even land a hit. That terrible laugh went off again. Then Sonic appeared behind Knuckles again. And then I made him punch again. Sonic vanished again, laughing. Knuckles was panicking even more, and even I felt I was going crazy. Sonic was practically playing with us. He was playing a sick, twisted little mind game with me and Knuckles. Another cutscene played as Knuckles fell to his knees and clutched his head, sobbing. I felt his agony. Sonic was actually driving us both crazy. Then in a split second, Sonic lunged at Knuckles, and then the screen went to black, and another distorted screech noise that lasted for 3 seconds. Another text message appeared. "So many souls to play with, so little time. Would you agree?" What the hell? Just what was going on? I started to think that Sonic was actually trying to talk me through the game, but I was too scared to think that. I was brought back to the main menu, and this time the second file box had Knuckles in the TV screen. His red fur had darkened to a reddish gray, his dreadlocks were dripping with blood, and his eyes were black and bleeding too, and he had a look of sadness on his face. I began to think those were the actual characters trapped in those TV screens on the save files, but I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it, so I shut off the game and took a break. I took a nap, which I hadn't, because I began having the most disturbing nightmares. Nightmare. I was in a pitch black darkness, though I was under a light given off by a lamp that hung high above my head. I could hear the cries of Knuckles and Tails nearby. They were saying stuff like, "Help us," and "Why did you give us to him?" and "Run away before he gets you too." The cries died out as I then heard Sonic laugh his laugh. It sounded a lot like the distorted Kefka laugh. "You're a lot of fun to play with, kid, just like your friend Kyle, though he didn't last long." I was scared and looked around for the source of the voice. "Won't be long now until you join him and all my other friends." I saw him walking toward me, flickering in and out of the several directions. "You can't run, kid. You're in my world now, just like the others." When he grabbed me, I saw his bleeding black and red-eyed grinning face. I woke up in a fright. So for a couple hours, I decided to continue playing the game. I don't know why, but I had to know. I had to figure out why this was happening. So I turned on the computer, turned on the game, and selected Robotnik next. I still thought this was wacky, playing as Robotnik. But anyway, the level appeared again, and this time it said ellipsis, or dot dot dot, which I found really freaky. This time, I was in some kind of hallway. I didn't really look like it was from any of the classic Sonic games, though it was the pixelated style. The floor was shiny and checkered. The walls were dark grayish purple with animated candle lights and a few dark blood stains here and there. Here and there was dark red curtain hanging from above top of the part of the screen every 12 seconds or so. The red curtain sways very slowly, but whenever you're playing the game, you can barely see it move. The music was oddly pleasant, a piano playing a rather sad yet peaceful song, but I knew better. This was the song that played in Hell Act 1, only it wasn't in reverse. Robotnik didn't look entirely nervous like Tails and Knuckles did, but he did have a suspicious look on his face, as if he was just a bit paranoid. He did a little animation when I saw him standing. He turned his head to the left and then to the right, at least twice, and then shrugs at me as he has no idea where he was or what he was going on. What was going on? Even though I was scared out of my mind about what was going to happen, I had Robotnik continue onward. He had his usual running animation, the one when you've beat him at the end of a classic Sonic game and you chase him as he continued through the hallway. Then I stopped at a long flight of stairs leading downward. I was nervous. Even Robotnik seemed unsure of himself, though I pressed onward. As I led Robotnik down the stairs, I noticed that the walls have gotten darker and more reddish. The red torches were now eerie blue. Then we landed onto another hallway. This one was longer. Then the last one, or at least it felt like it. And then we headed down another flight of stairs. Down this one was much longer. Took at least one full minute. And then I heard that horrid Kefka laugh again. Then the music slowly faded until it was quiet. As it did, the walls turned more dark red. The torches were a black flame now. When Robotnik landed on the third hallway, I noticed he now looked really creeped out. Though he tried to hide it, I couldn't blame him. I was scared too. Suddenly, Sonic popped right in front of Robotnik, the same way he did Knuckles, and then red static. The static lasted for about 15 seconds, then would show me a most unpleasant image. The image showed a hyper-realistic Sonic standing in the darkness, where you can see only his face, while his head and torso faded into black. And when I say hyper-realistic, I mean like he looked so real you could actually see the lines in his blue fur, as if you could actually feel the fur if you touched the screen. His face, oh god, he had the most horrifying smile I had ever seen. And that's saying something, considering I saw the image at the start of the game. His eyes are wide and black, and once again crying blood, which also looked hyper-realistic. And there were two small glowing red dots in those black eyes, staring right at me, as if staring into my mind. His grin was wide and demonic. It literally stretched to the sides of his face like a Cheshire cat, except Sonic had fangs, very sharp fangs, much like a werewolf's teeth, except more vicious looking, somewhat yellowish. And from the look of it, he had stains of blood and small bits of flesh on his lips and fangs, as if he ate some animal. I stared at that gruesome image for a good 30 seconds, never taking my eyes off it. I felt as if he was actually looking at me, smiling at me. That face, it took 10 seconds for it to etch itself into my brain for good. Then the screen flickered with red statics again 3 times, and on the third time, I heard that Kefka laugh, except this time it sounded distorted, demonic even. It went black to the image again, except this time there were texts again. It was messed up, but it was pretty much one of the most horrifying things I looked since I had this game. I am God. It was when I read the message while looking at Sonic when it hit me. I realized that right there and then, Sonic was a monster. A pure, evil, sadistic, all-powerful, nightmarish, demented monster. And all of his victims, including Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, and possibly Kyle, are just his little toys. And the game is the very gateway into his chaotic, nightmarish world, the very hell his victims are trapped in. Suddenly, in the actual split second, I screamed as Sonic lunged at the screen, screeching loudly, with his mouth wide open and an unnatural length, revealing nothing but a literally spiraling abyss of pure darkness before the red static came again, and this time much louder, distorted, so loud it hurt my ears. I yelled and grabbed my ears as the red static screeched for a good 7 seconds. Then it stopped and showed me nothing but black screen. As I sat there staring at the black screen, one last text came up. Ready for round 2, Tom? The Kefka laugh, now sounding more clear, as if Sonic was right behind me, played again 3 times as I looked at that text in shock and confusion. Then I got booted back to the main menu, and this time the third save file had a TV image of Robotnik in the same tormented state as Tails and Knuckles. Robotnik's skin turned a dull gray, his mustache dropped, and blackened. His glasses broke, and blood is coming from them, and had a mere mere dead-like expression on his face. I looked at Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik, and I cried a bit. I pitied them for the agony they're going through. They were forever trapped within the game, forever tormented by that horrid hedgehog, and always will be. Then the computer shut itself down. I couldn't turn it back on no matter what I did. I sat there for maybe 25 seconds, horrified by what had just happened. Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. He tortures people who plays his game in more ways than one. And then when he gets bored, he drags you into the game, literally drags you to hell, where he can play with you always as his toy. I can't get the game out of my computer. I think it's stuck in there. But at least I managed to turn it back on now. After I sat there for 25 seconds, I heard a voice right behind me, like a whisper. Try to keep this interesting for me, Tom. I turned around to see where the voice came from, and what I saw made me scream. Sitting on my bed, staring right at me, was a Sonic plushie, smiling with blood stains under his eyes. Sonic pulled out Knuckles, Tails, Dr. Robotnik, and Kyle. Kyle was like a doll. He would do anything Sonic tells him to do. Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik looked like they did in the main menu, screen of that horrid game. Then he came closer to me, and I ran as fast as I could. I regret that. Then Sonic made me have another nightmare. That all the video game's characters were dead, lying there. Sonic, in the most scariest voice you can think of, he said, "You're my next victim." I woke up right away and noticed it was not a nightmare. Holy shit. That was a good creepypasta. Thank God I take my dream pills. Otherwise, that might have done the same for me. I played the game. It was this one was version 4. It seemed to be a bit more scarier than what Tom had. If you want to know how to get it, go to YouTube. Type in download Sonic.exe. Download it for your computer. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Appreciate it.
Bye.